Hi everyone, Kenny Chan here, Century 21% Group. Today we're going to be talking about the open offer process. It is a term that's been going around lately because of some recent changes proposed by the federal Liberals, as well as some changes currently undergoing in Ontario with offer process. So I want to talk about the pros and cons. Now I've actually talked about open versus closed offer processes. I've already covered the closed offer process in another video, also about blind bidding. You can just go to YouTube and just search Kenny Chan Offer Night Real Estate, and it's a nice, long, comprehensive video about what is blind bidding and what is closed offer process. But today we're actually going to talk about the open offer process, and that's a very generic term, so it can actually exist in more than one form. The first that a lot of people will probably think about is something called a real estate auction. And then the second one is simply a current offer process with some more transparency. So let's get started with the real estate auction. That's pretty straightforward. You can imagine that as a live bidding or live offering in a transparent manner. So before the auction, the seller actually sets their own minimum sale price, so the minimum that they're willing to accept for this home, the closing date that they want, and any conditions that they may or may not accept. And then during the auction, really the differences between who wins the auction usually comes down to the price, since the rest of the terms are already dictated. All right. So in a second open offer process, it's simply a current offer process with more transparency, and I'll get into that. So in this new open offer process, if you were to submit an offer and then someone else submits a competing offer at the same time, then you and the other buyers in competition will receive some details of the other offers that may include the price, the deposit, the closing date, and conditions, if any. And then, of course, the other buyers would know yours. And then if the buyers change their offer, then these new details would also be disclosed. Now, this is obviously not the same as an auction, because usually in an auction, the terms are already set by the seller. The only thing that's really left to be determined is the ultimate price that the bidders are bidding on. So therefore, in this second situation, a buyer can still win an offer by paying less than the top price because perhaps other factors are in favor of the buyer. For example, maybe it's a better closing date. Maybe it is less conditions or no conditions. But at the end of the day, the buyer in this situation, all buyers will know what they were competing against. So here are the pros of an open offer process. There's more flexibility for both the buyers and the sellers to participate in buying a home or selling a home in the way that they prefer. Because this is going to be a somewhat new process for Ontario and probably for Canada, then there are some sellers that might find that they actually prefer this type of selling a home. Maybe they actually don't like the current traditional way of selling a home. They might actually like this way. Same thing with buyers. Buyers may enjoy doing this more than another way. Sellers can actually feel that they have indeed got the best, quote, best price for the home, simply because in a closed bid situation, a seller doesn't really know if another buyer would have paid more than the current best price. So sellers can often in my experience, sellers can leave the experience maybe wondering, maybe I could have gotten more money. But in an open offer process, you know who came first, and the second best offer could have gone better, but they didn't. So ultimately, then the seller can know that they got the best price. At the same time, a buyer can feel like they actually paid a market price, because a buyer, if there are multiple offers, then the buyer who ultimately wins would know that, there were several other buyers who were basically putting in similar offers. So then the buyers will know what they paid or what they ultimately offered was market value. Now, here are the cons of an open offer process. There's always an opportunity for phantom bidding or fake bidders, which means a type of registration system or protections for the seller need to be in place to make sure that this doesn't arbitrarily or artificially increase the price of the home that's sold. This one is actually really important, is that the public may think that an open offer process will make housing more affordable, and I don't believe this is a smart assumption to make, simply because something called like auction fever, for example, when you know what the next person or what all the other prices are or what the other offers are, that's really not going to stop you from outbidding them by just a little bit. So for example, if you're in the middle of an auction or you're in the middle of an open offer process and you see that the top price is only marginally better than yours, then maybe you actually decide to pay even more than that offer. And then I can continue to go on. At the same time, if you actually lost an auction or an open offer process by only several thousand, you still might be motivated to pay more the next time you go and do this type of process again. And lastly, there were also some studies performed where having an open offer process did not actually reduce housing prices. This type of open offer process is not going to be the first in the world. There are several other countries that have already implemented this type of thing, and studies were done where, the price of the homes, were not going down because of this process in place. And I do think that, overall, I do support having more tools for buyers and sellers to participate in buying or selling a property. Obviously, I don't think this is going to have a huge effect on supply versus demand. But obviously, if you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me. My information is right here. My email is there. You can see all my videos at kennychan.ca, and I hope to see you at the next one. Bye now.